Okay, so what I want to do now in this video, but it may end up being a couple of videos. So I want to talk about some of the more widely used plugins. And I'm just going to kind of go through these and talk about why, how to install them and why. And then later on, I'll go back and go into how to configure some of them. Okay. So remember that a plugin is a helper application that enhances the functionality of your site. And so when I use plugins, I use them to solve problems. And they fall into different categories. So the first thing is I can go to the WordPress.org website. Go to the WordPress.org website. And here I can go under extend and I can go down to plugins and I can evaluate plugins from here. And so one of the first ones I want to talk about is Akismet, which is anti-spam protection, right? And when you're evaluating a plugin, I do a few things, right? I click on the plugin and I see whether it's been updated recently, what's the current version, is it um, compatible with my current version of WordPress, right? I look at the number of installs, I look at its ratings, right? And I look at reviews and I see what kind of reviews it's gotten. And then I look at the installation, I look at the development, and the idea is that I want to get an overall understanding of how this particular plugin works. And usually what I'll do if I'm doing something new, let's say I'm trying a new plugin, what I'll do is I'll find three that I like, and then I'll take one and I'll install it, and I'll test it. And if I like it, I'll stop there. If not, I'll uninstall it and install the next one. And start with three. And then if I end up having to go on from there, I will. But the idea is that I want to evaluate the plugin based on the number of uses, active installations, 6+ million. So generally, with popularity contests, that's not a good thing. But when it comes to plugins, it is. All right, so this one helps with spam protection. Now, there's two ways to install a plugin. One is I can install it directly into WordPress. The other is I can download it. I'm going to download this one, and I'm going to put it someplace where it's safe. I'll put it into my downloads folder, Akismet 5.6, click Save. Okay, so I've downloaded that plugin, then I can go back to um, my WordPress site, and I can click Upload Plugin, and I can navigate. Now, when you install a plugin, you're going to upload it zipped. So you're going to click choose file, then I go to the folder, select it, upload from, I click open, there we go. Then I click install now. I'm just going to install that plugin. After I install the plugin, I activate it. And that's usually how you will work with each plugin. So there's one of the plugins that I often use called Akismet. And the idea with Akismet is that it helps with comment spam and form spam, and it serves as a blocker. And we'll come back and spend more time with it. Let's go back to plugins. And that's one way to install a plugin is to actually find a plugin at WordPress.org, download it to your hard drive, and then upload it. You can also install directly into WordPress. So if I click Add Plugin, it's going to give me the most featured plugins and then popular plugins, right? And then recommended plugins, right? And one of them is Akismet. And then you can also have a set of favorite plugins. So another plugin that I want to talk about is Yoast SEO Optimizer. So I'm going to type in YOAST SEO. Well, we need to put it in a different place. Let's go to Add Plugin and type in Yoast. As soon as we start typing it, it should come up. There it is, Yoast SEO Optimizer. The idea with this is that this will allow us to do some search engine optimization for our website. And it's one thing to build a website, it's another thing to get users to come to the website. And so search engine optimization is one of the many ways that you can drive traffic to your website. Okay. And we'll come back in the advanced portion of the class and we'll configure and use Yoast SEO Optimizer. So I'm going to click install now. And I install and then activate the plugin. And sometimes when you activate the plugin, you'll see that a new entry for the plugin will appear over on the left. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of stuff here with configuration. We're going to skip that for now. Let's go to install plugins. And you see here's our plugin here. And then we have to go through the configuration. And then you'll see it's over here on the left. Okay, so lots of times it'll add another entry on the left. Let's go to add plugin. And the next one I want to talk about is WordFence. And this is another plugin to help with security. Akismet will help with security, and WordFence is a firewall. And so I always, just about almost every website I build, I install WordFence. And there's a free version of WordFence, which is what I use for most of my clients. I click activate. And once again, the idea is you go through a install. And then some of the plugins today, they will do, so we can get a license for this. And we'll go through configuring it later. But the idea is that I have to install WordPress and install the license for it. Install WordFence and install a license for it. So WordFence is another one of those really powerful tools that's very helpful. All right, so we got Yoast SEO Optimizer, we got WordFence. Let's go to the next one I want to talk about. Let's go back to add plugin. So we looked at the Gutenberg editor and we looked at the classic editor. Um, if you are looking to have a more sophisticated page build, you can buy either Elementor or Divi. And both of those are much more sophisticated page layout tools where I can create very sophisticated layouts, and they're both WYSIWYG. The difference is that Divi, there is no free version, but with Elementor, there's actually a free version of Elementor, Elementor, that is actually very powerful and very useful. And so I highly recommend if you need to move on past the traditional Gutenberg editor, then I would suggest, and you don't have any money, I would suggest using the Elementor website builder. Um, and this is a very powerful page builder. And we will spend some time in the second part of the class on installing and using Elementor. There is a paid version which has more features, but the plain version actually has a lot of features as well. I'm not going to install this now because it'll change the site around drastically, but just remember that Elementor is a very important tool, and then we'll spend some time looking at more advanced plugins for page building. We'll look at Elementor and we'll look at Divi. And then we'll do some exercises where we build with Elementor. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is all-in-one WP migration. All right, here it comes. So the idea with this is that sometimes you'll need to migrate a site. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to do site migration, okay? And site migration can be very tricky because the idea of site migration is I'm moving a site from one location to another. And so this could be from a subfolder to a root. This could be from one host to another. So there's lots of different configurations to how a migration can go. So lots of times when I do a migration professionally, I'll just pay GoDaddy or pay one-on-one to do the migration for me because there's so many things that can go wrong because you have to migrate the database and the WordPress site, and the database and the WordPress site have to stay connected. And there's so many different things that can go wrong until I generally just pay for it. But this is a good tool for a simple migration and backup. And we will come back and learn how to do a simple migration and backup using this tool. And there's three different ways. One is to do it through a dashboard on your site. So lots of times you may have a control panel and you can do a migration there. The other is to pay the web host to do the transition or migration. And the third is to use a plugin like all-in-one WP migration and backup. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. And then we're going to come back in the second part of the class and we're going to learn how to use all-in-one WP migration. We'll simulate migrating a site from one location to another. Okay. Now there was another plugin that was right there when I pulled it all in one that I want to talk about, and that's WP Backup. And so Updraft Plus is another tool that I often use. And the idea is that you want to have some sort of a backup plan in place. And what that simply means is that when the site crashes, site goes down, there's a version of the site that's been saved. And if there is, it'll save you all sorts of problems because then you can just restore the site back to a previous state, a month ago, or 2 months ago, or 3 months ago. Now, technically, some hosts will do backups, but you can't count on a host to do backups for you. Um, and if they do, lots of times, and you ask for that backup, they'll charge you a lot of money. Now, you can pay to have a backup, the host do a backup of your site on a regular basis as part of your backup plan, as part of your hosting plan, and that is a very good idea, is to pay them you say, I want a backup, a data backup plan, and then they'll back up the data once a month, once every 2 weeks, etc. And then if something goes wrong, you can say, hey, can you restore the site back to this date before the error took place, before it was hacked, or whatever the case may be. Now, if you don't have the money for that, then this is kind of like a workaround, which is to use tools like WP backup and migration. So I use this for backup. I'll click install, and the idea is that it's going to allow me to configure a backup of the site that and I usually activate it, and then I have it where it backs up the site once every 2 weeks or once a month. And then that way, if something goes wrong, I can fall back on that backup of the site. Now, I have had some problems with some websites, with some hosts not allowing me to use Updraft Plus. And that was something that happened just recently, a few times where they would not allow me to install Updraft Plus WP back the backup tool, and I guess it was making backups on their server, and which is weird because it's not configured to do that. So you have to be aware of the fact that every host does not support the Updraft Plus backup restore. So be aware of that. Okay. The next plugin I want to talk about is for e-commerce. Now, there's basically two ways to create an e-commerce experience. One is to set up something like PayPal and then create buttons at PayPal, which is actually really simple and easy to do. And we will show you the basics of that later. So what you do is you create PayPal buttons, you configure them, and then you get a short code and you copy and paste that into the page. The other way is to create what's called a shopping cart, and the tool that I like to use for that is WooCommerce. Okay, so with this WooCommerce tool, the plugin, you can create a complete shopping cart experience. And with that shopping cart, you'll have a shop page, you create products, you create shipping, you'll create tax, everything with that WooCommerce. Now, WooCommerce is such a powerful and well-known application is that there are hundreds of add-on applications for WooCommerce. As you can see here, there's WooCommerce PayPal payments, Google for WooCommerce, Woo Payments, integrated WooCommerce payments. So there's all these additional plugins that are plugins on top of the original WooCommerce plugin. And when I activate this, what it's going to do is allow me to create products, allow me to set up a shopping cart experience, allow me to integrate that with my website. So what I have to do is create a payment gateway. That payment gateway. So we're going to set the WOOS setup later. Come back to that. We'll come back to that later. We're not going to do that now. But the idea is that WooCommerce tool is a very powerful tool for the creation of and the use of a shopping cart. So now let's get out of here. Okay, so there's a lot of work in configuring it, but after you take care of it, it really runs pretty well. And every once in a while, you'll need to update it. So remember that every time you install a plugin, you'll need to update the plugin in addition to updating the version of WordPress and updating the theme. All right. So that WooCommerce, we will come back in the second part of the course and I'll show you the basics of how to set up a shopping cart using WooCommerce. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is a form builder. Now, I usually like to have a form builder on my website. And I really, really, really liked Caldera forms. They went out of business. And that's one of the problems with plugins is they come and go. So sometimes you'll have a plugin, the plugin will work really well, and then the company may just stop supporting it, or it may, and when that happens, it's no longer compatible with the current version of WordPress. And that's basically what happened with um, um, with Caldera Forms. So I've been looking for a really good form builder system. One that I've been using is JotForm. And the problem with JotForm, though, is that you install JotForm. Um, Here's the JotForm, and you configure it at another place, and then you place it into the website, and it puts a little tag at the bottom that says this form was created at JotForm. So, but that's one of the ones that I've been using a lot recently. And the problem is getting it to work properly and to send them the data on. Now, the whole idea, another is Form Builder. And so I've had some success with Form Builder as well. Where is it? Let's see, we make it with just one with a space here. Form Builder. Okay, so there's lots of them out here. I'm probably not using them right. I've used WP Forms as well. And what we'll probably do is use um, a form plugin, and I haven't decided which one yet. We might do JotForm, we might do WP Forms, but I want to take you through configuring a simple form on a page. Okay. All right. So the idea is that I wanted to show you a number of different plugins that are helpful to your site. Got one more. And sometimes the sites will will start running slowly. And what I like to do then is install something that caches the site and makes it run more quickly. So I use Nitro Pack for that. I've used that on a few sites. And the idea is that it does a quick load of the site so it loads more quickly. And then the other thing is WP Optimize. And once again, the idea with this is that it's going to help with the optimization of the site and make the site run more quickly. Sometimes the site will take a long time to load, and you don't want to have that experience for your audience. So you can use tools like WP Optimize and Nitro Pack to make the site load more quickly. So those are about 10 or 11 plugins that I often use on sites to solve different types of problems, right? Okay, all right. Thank you very much.